neon lights, we take a stand. Knights and wizards across the land.
Spire, the city must fall. What is it? Hello and welcome. It is me. It's 11:30. It's the 7th day of August 2025. It is gorgeous outside. And Stephen, the cat, and I have been working and lulling in the sunbeams and generally enjoying a lovely Thursday. So we're going through the collection of stuff that we got from the Humble Bumble. Sadly, the Humble Bumble's no longer available. There's a similar Humble Bumble available right now, but it's not quite as good. We got, 57 games for $40, and one of the games in the collection was Spire, the City Must Fall. Now, if you're like me, you have heard this game mentioned probably a dozen or so times in the last year or two. It's won awards. It gets a lot of sort of vague positive attention in that the fact that, well, it exists, it must be cool, but I don't actually know what it is. And I'm not so sure anybody does, other than it's something to do with the city. So is this just a sprawling Evercity crawl type campaign? I think it has something to do with drow elves. I don't know, but we got it. So let's take a look at it and try and solve the mystery of Spire. All right, so this is the cover. I got some vaguely Asian writing. For some reason, it's on a tilt. I don't know. And then we've got these dudes, and it's fantasy because he's got a sword, but it's also technology because look at this. Again, what's going on? I don't know. Hopefully there's an introduction. Contents. Welcome to Spire. The rules, skills and domains, equipments, bonds, characters, combat, factions. Always like factions. A lot of stuff on factions here. This might be a good guide to how to do factions in your game. I've got some factions in my game that I'm writing right now. As you guys know, if you've been watching it, then we've got an appendix, and it's about 215 pages. Okay, reasonable. And we've got a map on the front. Cool. Nice map. Cool. Welcome to Spire. A mile-high city in the land of Destra ruled by cruel high elves in which they draw. You and your family and your friends have been oppressed, in which the drow, you and your family and your friends have been oppressed for centuries. So the drow are being oppressed. A nightmare warren, a twisting passages and structures built and rebuilt on top of itself. A city of 1,000 gods, the furthest bastion of a terrible and burgeoning empire. A structure of unknown make that houses a blistering rotten hole in reality. It is the center where the sane dare not tread. You have joined the ministry of our hidden mistresses, the paramilitary cult that worships the forbidden goddess, and sworn in blood to avenge the wrongs placed upon you and your people. You have made an oath to fight the high elves, to subvert and capture their resources, and take Spire back into the dark elf hands once more. It is a cruel and thankless task that your family would most likely report you to the city guard if they knew what you were doing, but it's a task you have sworn to perform, and you will kill for it. You will die for it. So, okay. So all the player characters are drow. Drow are the secondary class that are being oppressed by the high elves. And again, it's in the sort of this never-ending city. That sounds a lot like District 19. Anybody see District 19 or is it District 9? Anyway, that's a great movie if you've never seen it. Then we have some definitions. It looks like it uses sexyders and 10-siders and stuff. What is Spire? Spire is a role-playing game, blah, 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 blah. The story of Spire is one of rebellion. You and your friends will become drow freedom fighters, clawing back the city through subterfuge, seduction, and brutal violence. They will have risked their relationships with their community to save it from the cruel overlords of Spire. Are they prepared to lose to liberate their people? I used to be able to talk. What if I don't want to play a drow? Because I'm sorry, I'm old school. Drow are evil. There's no wilderness in this game. The entire game takes place in the city. There's no morality system, so there's no alignments. There aren't any monsters. You're not going to be kicking doors and shaking orgs. Everything will be a struggle against Spire-The City, or trying to get the city the way it was, or a bad person, perhaps, but still a person. So there's no monsters. Doesn't look like this is an EP and stuff type game. There's no good or evil. You're just people doing stuff. And there's no leaving the city ever, which, of course, would mean that I would be trying to leave the city every chance I get because I'm an asshole. Just like all the times I tried to leave the world's largest dungeon. So then we have some explanation of the world, which is important. The explanation of the drow. and how the drow ended up being secondary citizens and why we would fight for the drow, which of course we wouldn't because drow are evil. And I guess this is one view of the city. So the entire city is in this spire, or this spire is what controls, and then I don't know. Then we have the elf here, which are the high elves, and why they're doing what they're doing. And then there's humans are mentioned. Humans die young. Humans are, so there are humans. Okay. But the humans work for the elves. Also, the humans invented guns. So we've got humans and drow, but you can't play a human. Then we've got the ministry. Apparently the god is also the spire. Subvert, don't destroy. This is not a kind world. You are brave. You are going to hurt people. This is going to kill you. There's always another level. You can't win this. Listen, you can't take the street back. Sure, you might even get a district, but you make too much noise, take too much territory. Someone bigger and more dangerous than you will notice, and they'll turn up and destroy you. Okay, so it's nothing I do will change anything. My only choice is playing a drow. I'm already not liking this game. I like the plot. I like the idea of the franchise building, and I suppose there is an audience for, hey, you could only do this. Here's the system. Looks like it's a D10 system. I love D10. It's probably my third favorite style of system. You know, for somebody who talks a lot about Dungeons and Dragons, it's like one of my least favorite systems. But I love Shadowdark, even though it's D&D on steroids. But I'm going to copy this because I know somebody who's looking for a D10 system. And I'm going to send it to them right now. I know, I'm being bad. But whatever. Somebody asked me to find them a D10 system, and I'm doing it right now because he's sent me some stuff. Jeff Gamebox. So here you go, Jeff. Here's a D10 system. Anyways, back to this. All right, so here's the rules. We got stress rules. We got difficulty. We got group worlds. We got the different types of stress you can take: blood, mind, silver, shadow, and reputation. Oh, interesting that they had reputation. Very few games cover rep. And especially if you're dealing with a game with factions and multiple different pieces, you know, you do want rep. You know, something. One of the few things that World of Warcraft got right really early before it got too bloated was your rep with certain guilds and certain groups, as it went up, allowed you to have access to more stuff, and they were more likely to use you. That was something I tried to introduce in the last fantasy game I ran, and in the current fantasy game I'm running tomorrow. I'm going to be playing this tomorrow, Saturday, my every other Saturday game, where the more you interact with groups and the more you increase your reputation with groups, the more likely that group is going to use you again. And they'll, you know, give you lower prices on stuff. They'll have you access to, you know, faction specific. So I like that if it's done right. And then how to remove stress. Interesting art style. We've got some stuff for like mutations and stuff. And I guess these are the things that can happen to you if you roll a failure. How do I make a character? Characters. Okay. How to make a character. How to advance a character. These are my characters. I can be a Durance. I can be an acolyte, an agent, a builder, a dealer, a duelist, an enlisted, a guard, a human emissary, a hunter, an information broker, a killer, a laborer, a cultist, a personal assistant. I could be a pet, a sage, or a spies. Or if you don't have a lord, you can pick something from this. So since your only class, only race is dark elves, doesn't seem that there's classes. Just professions, and each profession gives you a bonus. I like that. Then here's the different ones. Here's the Ozerite. You are the treater, deal maker, and hustler from the South Docks. Clad in sacred blue and gold, you are welcome almost everywhere and have connections. So that's one of the types of drow you can be. These are your resistances, your different abilities, your free equipment. Love the free equipment. Are your abilities that as you level up. Then we have the another class. This is called the Bound. This is sort of a vigilante type character. And again, the special abilities and stuff like that. And then let's waste space with a full page picture. I hate that. Then we've got the Carrion Priest, who worships death. Yeah, nothing sounds like a good guy, like a Carrion Priest. And for some reason, the picture of the Carrion Priest is this dude. We've got the Firebrand, rebel rouser, dangerous criminal, sort of your bard type character. Again, look at all this wasted space. Special abilities, some art. Then we've got the Idol, who's like your charisma based upon, I guess, the idols from Japan and Korea. And all the different abilities of the idol. And then another wasted space picture. Then we've got the knight, who are knights. And all their abilities. 3 pages. Then another wasted space. We got the Lejean, who are chosen ones. Serve her and spread her wisdom. Providing aid and nourishment to the impoverished. So I guess sort of a cleric. And we got this dude. I'm going to say it's probably the wizard. We've got the mask. Subterfuge, going unnoticed, and quiet acts of rebellion. So another thief. And we've got the midwife, who's another type of scholar / healer. Then we got the Vermissian Sage, who are sort of like, well, say a collector of knowledge, it looks like. Then we got the different houses you can be a member of. Then we got some other things you can be. You can be a member of the City Guard. You can be chosen of the Hungry Deep. You enlisted. We already went through these. These are the different like backgrounds and what the bonuses of being a member of that background gets you. So you pick your background, then you pick your class, knowing that you're only going to be a drow. And then we get the combat section. Roll initiative. Range. Weapons imply stress, and as well as bleeding. There's an example. Good. Include examples. And then we get to the heart and soul of the game, the section where, like, even if you'd be like, I'm going to ignore the rest of this game, but this is the game's heart and soul. This is what the game is relying on to make it stand out. And it's the various factions, what they're doing, what they're up to, how you can interact with them, use them to your advantage, that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that stands out to me that I think is very important. Even if you don't, this is the kind of thing where I'd say, well, even if you don't use the game, here's a lot of good research on faction play. And if that's something you want to add into your game, that might be something you want to look at. Of course, there's tons of other stuff of faction play out there. You could, just go to Harmony Ginger's site and read everything she's done about faction play. So here's all the different factions, the commerce factions, how you can join the factions, what the factions give you, and then we get the gods. Then we got the random tables of events, then we got the glossary, and then we got something about rumored goats of Spire. Rumored goats of Spire. Okay, well, I guess it's a city, it's all built on a mountain, so I guess there's a different type of goats running around. Or there's probably something in there that I missed. And since we don't have dungeons to explore, we've got arcologies, which are different, ruins and stuff within the city. No real dungeon crawling in this one. Then we got the different types of antagonists. We got things you could watch. We requested music, recommended books and comics, recommended role-playing games, recommended films, Dread, The Raid, Dark City, Blade Runner, Hellboy 2, recommended TV, The Wire, Peaky Blinders, Backadder, and Breaking Bad. Fallen London, Sunless Sleep, Bloodborne, and Necromunda. I guess those are comics and other games I recommend. Fallen London, Sunless Sea are video games. Bloodborne is, I think, a video game, but Necromunda is a miniatures game. Then we got some more stuff on antagonistics. Then we got the character record sheet. So here's your character record sheet. We got your necks, equipments, your abilities, your skills, your domains, slots you can add to extra stuff, your resistances, current stress, stuff like that. Everything you need to know to be a drow. Player name, Bob the Drow. Character name, Bob the Drow. Class, Drow. Durance, more Drow. And then the thank you for all the people who kickstarted it. All right, so that is a quick look at Spire, the city below. Bit of a, apparently I think, blue, black, blue, black, blue. I like blue better. And then it has that silly circle. So yeah, that looks a little better. Not really though. All right, so let's just put aside any personal feelings I have about drows being the protagonist and no real good guys or bad guys, and just look at it as basically this is a cyberpunk game, but you're just running drow instead of cyberpunk humans, right? So it's fantasy cyberpunk, but done much more limited than, say, Shadowrun. There are guns, there are some level of technology, but it feels that's very limited. A lot of stuff on just character development, very rich in that. The faction play alone is interesting, and I really like that they gave so much thought to faction and reputation, which is important in a game like this, where you're not always going to just be running and fighting and killing, and your treasure might not be gold and magic weapons, but information, and reputation and ways you can manipulate people to work your way up to accomplish your goals. It's got that very dreadful, nothing we do is going to change anything, but we do it because there's hope. So, this is a very dark game, obviously. It goes against a lot of fantasy traditions, and that might be for anybody. It is highly well regarded, and having looked at it now, I can see why it appeals to a certain thing. I'm more of a classicist, probably because I prefer superhero types games. So I want my characters to be heroic, I want to know that there's a chance I can win. The more you tell me nothing you do will change things, the more I'm likely to fight to change things just to prove you wrong. And history has shown at least 9 out of 10 times I succeeded in changing the outcome of a game simply because of my tenacity, luck of the dice, and whatever. But that's not here nor there. So this goes against my style of play, but Dark Grim is very popular right now, thanks to Shadowdark, though I think this game predates Shadowdark. So yeah, basically they took the idea of drow run city, drow lose city, elves take over city, drows are now secondary class, District 9. Drows are fighting to get their city back, but there's something ancient and powerful behind the city as well, sort of Lovecraftian. Why is it the city never ends? Why is it can't we leave? No matter how hard we try, we can't really change anything, but we're going to do it anyways because of hope. If we can just make, one day better for whoever comes after us, kind of thing. Very doom, very gloom, very Blade Runner, very dystopian, very Hunger Games. And that's cool if that's your thing. The only thing I'd take away from this would probably be the faction play as a lesson to increase and improve my faction play, and to show, design wise, there's a lot of things I don't like about the design that just go against everything that appeals to me, because it feels like there's a lot of wasted space. There's a lot of space padding. There's a lot of just, here's just some blank space. And, where I'm looking at games that are, complete game in 32 pages, Villains and Vigilantes, old school games where everything was, 20, 30, 40, 50 pages. For an OGGM, your game's like 200 pages. Yeah, but like 190 of that is world building. The core rules are like 10 pages. So, yeah. So there's a lot of, I don't like that. I don't like the giant, full page for each class, heavy art, heavy ink, but we already know I don't like that style. So that's neither here nor there. I love city crawl campaigns. The most successful campaign I ever ran was a city crawl campaign. I love playing in city crawl campaigns, but obviously city crawl requires a different mindset than dungeon crawl or wilderness crawl. Wilderness crawl, dungeon crawl, normal fantasy, you solve problems with violence. And there's a reward. And you're making the world a better place, one goblin at a time. But in this type of game, that's not cut and dry. There are no doors to kick open. There are no obvious bad guys to kill. There is no stuff to take. If everybody's a drow elf or a high elf or a human, you're killing people You're not killing faceless orc. You're killing Wendell the baker to, take over Wendell's life, to work your way up the hierarchy to get closer to the individuals you think you need to deal with to try and make life better in the Spire. And that appeals to a lot of people, a lot of intrigue, a lot of cyberpunk. It's definitely cyberpunk fantasy without being the over the top of Shadowrun. It's got that darkness. It's got that low level thing. So yeah, I'm going to give it a B-. I like a lot, I can be impartial and say I like a lot of the ideas. The system seems relatively easy. It's a D10. I like the reputation. I like the faction. I like the backgrounds and that, the individuality of the classes, finding the clever ways to make each drow individual in a world where everybody's drow. But, design wise and philosophy wise, personally, there's a lot of things I don't like. Definitely don't like the wasted space. So I'm going to give Spire a B-. Congratulations. Would I recommend it? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's not my target audience, but chances are it might be your target audience. It might be your cut and paste. There's very few games that I look at and go, I cannot take anything positive away from this game. In fact, in the last 5 years, I can think of only 2 games that I've looked at and I've gone, this game is a piece of crap. There's absolutely nothing unique or original. This game has a lot of unique takes on established storylines, which I respect. I appreciate that. Again, I don't know if it's a game I'd run or play, but there's a lot of ideas in here I would probably use if I were going to run another city crawl. It definitely does city crawl a little bit better than the last city crawl I read. So yeah, again, B-. Anyways, link down below if you want to check out Spire. It's on Drive Thru. It's from the brilliant minds of Rowan and Duke and whatever. It's very dark, very grim, very spooky, very blah, 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 blah. If that's your kind of thing, I highly recommend this game. Sadly, the Humble Bumble that I got it from is no longer available, but I will include a link to the Drive Thru where you can pick it up in the description. Till next time, I'm the OGGM. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't checked out my merch yet, please use the links down below. Don't forget I am an Only Crits Dice affiliate. So if you're looking for some Steve the Cat approved dice, you can use that link down below as well. Till next time, see ya!
Monsters lurking in the night, heroes ready for the fight. monster